Hello, I'm Maya Andreasen and welcome back. We are going to go over part 2 of modeling basics. Today we're going to continue with the modeling toolkit and we're going to go over some of the other features that the modeling toolkit has. Specifically, we're going to be going over the quad draw tool as well as the multi-cut tool and some of the other tools as well. So in front of us we have a very high poly mountain or hillscape, and it's really high poly and not something that is practically usable. If I selected, that is the geo. The geo is so dense that it's just one big solid green mass. So what we're going to do is something called retopologizing, and Maya makes it very easy, and you do it using the quad draw tool. So the first thing that we have done is we have selected our object, and I'm actually going to name it, and we're going to call this Hills High Poly, just so we know, and then we'll be making Hills Low Poly as well. Now, what we want to do in order to basically retopologize this is we want to make it so that this object is not selectable, but it's also, we can effectively draw on it. Retopping is basically redoing the geometry of an object. And the geometry doesn't have to be dense and high poly, but typically it is. The way to do this is to make your object that you want as your kind of your template, your base that you're going to use as your jumping off point to retop. We want to make it live. Now, there's several ways to make something live, but what I usually do is go to my menu up here, and we go to Modify, Make Live. Okay, now there's also up here, there are also tools or icons that allow you to make live as well. But you can also go to Modify, Make Not Live, and it's not live. So we're going to select this. So the other thing we can do is, let's see, if we go up here, Make Selected Object Live, we click this. And so this also makes the object live. If you want, you can show the topology. Like I said, it's super dense, so I don't know how helpful that would be right now. So now that we've made this object live, what we can do is we can actually draw on it. So if I click on my quad draw tool, I can start here in the corner, and you see I have a green point. So, and then I can make another one, and another one, and another one, and I basically have a quad. And if I hit Shift, I have created a quad, and I can actually grab the ends of my quad as well, and I can move it. So I can move it, all sorts of other fun things. And basically I'm just going to continue on, press Shift. Right. Now there's a couple other things that we can do as well with the quad draw tool. It's a really cool tool. If we hit Control, as you can see, you can add some subdivisions, right? And you can add them in either direction. I don't really need to, but that's what I'm doing. If we hit Shift, you could do something called Relax, and that'll relax the vertices, okay? So kind of making them not as rigid. And then, of course, if we just go like this, we can continue on. So I'm going to do a couple of these, and then at one point I will pause the video so that we can that I can come back and we can continue on. Now, if you feel like, oh well, Maya, that's still too high poly, you know, we could start over again. We can make these much bigger I mean, you can do something where you're like, okay, this is how big I want my polys to be, right? By the way, you can hit Z or delete, and it should undo what you've done. Or you can go back to the quad draw options if it's not working, and you should be able to undo the last or clear dots. So I could clear all of my dots here. I can reset settings. I have relax on auto lock, but I have all these other options. So I can relax just the border vertices or just the interior vertices or all of them. So that's pretty cool. It automatically welds, but I can change parameters here. So these are all my quad draw options. I can also reset my settings. So if you change all these settings and things are kind of a mess, you could just reset the settings. Okay, now if I make not live, so I do this, right? So what we have here, and if I hit Control 1, we can see it by itself. You can see that we have this poly surface here. So once again, if this is something that you just don't like, right, just hit Control 1 to bring back, and we are going to make live again. You can always make these bigger, right? So we can always do that. Say, I don't need them that small, right? I need this to be larger. And then of course you can always add subdivisions as you need them. So first thing I'm going to do is just hit Control and add some topology here. So that'll be already this is helpful. Okay. And then I probably will add a little bit of topology here and here, but I'm just going to continue adding to my mountainous area, or hilly, whatever you want to call it. So remember, I'm just clicking here with left mouse clicking and then pressing Shift. You can always put in the extra topology that we need. And honestly, this definitely is going to need some extra topology right here. As you can see, it's not really laying quite the way I'd like it to. And what's great about retopping is we can transfer all this high poly dense information. We can transfer that via let's try this. We can transfer that information as a texture, as a normal map or a displacement map or a bump map. I would do it as a normal map. I actually used a displacement map to effectively make this high poly information. And I really want to not have something this dense, so a normal map should do the trick. And as you see, I'm just clicking and hitting Shift, pressing down on Shift, really, I guess I should say. Pressing down on Shift. All right, so I'm going to continue forward with this, and I'm actually going to pause the video. And when we come back, we're going to further use some of these tools. So I have unpaused the video because I wanted to show you that we can hit Control here, because we have kind of a discrepancy here. So we can bring these two together, but not without adding some subdivisions. This can be a quad. So if I hit Control, I can make a whole new row, and then voila, I'm able to attach these. All right, so I'm going to continue going through, and as you can see, I've made quite a bit of progress, and just remember that you do need to save, and you need to save often. So I've saved this already as version 2, and it's currently saving, and once I finish the basic retopping, I'll save it as probably version 3. Okay, so here we go. Let's continue on. So I'm just gonna, let's do that. Let's see, there we go. And here we are. So here we have, yeah, we can attach it, and we could do this. I predict that this in the future is going to need to be big time fixed. It's kind of a mess. I'm also trying to bring this down so it's forming something that's a little better. And then of course we can go through here and relax all this as well. So remember, you can relax, or you can just select points and manually move them as you wish, right? So you could do that too. All right, let's get these up in here. So we have these points that we are making, and as I said before, these are all quads. You can't make anything other than quads with quad draw. All right, got some interesting gaps here, so I kind of want to just see what I can do to fix this up. So I can do this, right? Kind of big. Let's kind of try and space that a little bit better. And there we go. And it looks like here I need to add another subdivision, so I'm going to do that. And let's bring these over here. There we go. So here we do have an issue. So we have a some big squares that really, like, this is not going to work. So what are we going to do here? Well, I could probably respace all of these, because they definitely need to be respaced. Let's see if I can, there we go. Relax these over a bit and move them over a bit, so that I can add another subdivision in here, right? So, or I can add one here, because this kind of looks a little cray-cray to me. All right. So I could do like this, and I could do this, and now we have this fixed, right? We can also add some subdivisions here if we want to. And I think this would not hurt this mountain, not one bit. And let's just do that. Yeah, that's looking a little bit better. And if we wanted to, we could also do that there. And as you can see now, that's looking a little bit better. So here we go. All right, so let's look at some of these. Let's save, continue. And once it's finished saving, looks like I put a subdivision in there accidentally. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, good. So let's go down here. So some of the things that we can do is we can relax. So we can relax only the border vertices or the interior vertices. So we can do shift and just relax everything that's interior, right? Just relax that a little bit if we want to. Yeah, take a look at that. It's looking better. So we can use the relax tool Just kind of go through. And as you can see, it's not affecting the edges. It isn't affecting the edges at all because we basically told the computer not to affect the edges. Okay? And if we want to, what we can do is we can take it back to auto lock or all vertices or however we wish next. All right, so I have now retopologized my scene and I have saved it. And we are going to name it as soon as it saves. Now it's taking a while because the high poly is really high. Let's get rid of this surface here. And the other thing is we can make the high poly no longer live, so we could do like this. And I'm just going to copy the name of the high poly and paste it and change high to low. All right, so this is the low poly version. Low poly version, high poly version. All right, so other things that we can do, let's hit H to hide, is we didn't really go over the multi-cut tool. We went over the connect tool a little bit, but let's talk about multi-cut just so you can see how to use it. If we select the multi-cut here, right, well, let's select my object and use my multi-cut. There we go. So here we are. So we can use the multi-cut, and so we could do something like this. We could make a whole bunch of, we can hit delete to get rid of things, and we can add things, and we can hit enter, and we can make a whole bunch of custom edges if we wanted to. Now I don't need to do that, but that is what the multi-cut tool does. There's also the connect tool. So if I go into component mode, if I click connect and then shift and then enter, I can make a new subdivision that way as well. And that is what the connect tool does. And we already kind of went over the multi-cut tool and everything. The target weld merges two edges or vertices into a single component. So I could select these edges and let's see if the target weld will work. There we go. Yeah, so that's how the target weld works. And we're going to hit Q to go back into just select mode. And that's how the rest of those tools work. And then lastly, I forgot to go through soft selection, which is a really quick way to get hills like this. So let me just save what I have first. And I'm going to make another plane really, really quickly. And then we are going to I'm going to show you how the soft select works. So if we create a poly primitive plane, and I'm just going to move it over here, make it a whole lot bigger, and go to my channels and polyplane inputs and make it 24 by 24. So we have a little bit more topology to work with. If we go to modeling toolkit, we can turn on soft select right here. And if we go and hit W for the move tool and go into our components, you'll see when I go over this, it looks like there's this little moving target here. And that's the influence that my soft selection area has. So that's the influence here. If I raised this influence to say 20, as you can see, a lot more is influenced in my soft selection. So I can select over here, I can make it go down, right, really quickly, and it has a very soft curved a soft curve to it, so you can really make quick shapes very, very fast. I can also bring it up, make a nice big hill. So the soft select is a really easy way to make hills very fast, and when you're done, you just click soft select again. All right, so that is it for this tutorial on how to further use the modeling toolkit. For the next video, we'll go over how you can transfer high poly information to low poly information in the form of a normal map. All right, until next time, I'm Maya Andreasen. Bye-bye.